Mine pretty aligns with what I do. I'm a legal fellow, so I'm actually just doing a 1-year fellowship.
Fellow?
So
I'm a legal fellow.
It spells it out pretty clearly that I am doing the law. And I
As a fellow.
I am the life. First of all, I work at a nonprofit called Year Up. Not Year Up, Year Up. I have to really pause in between those words.
Yeah, you do.
It's so easy
Europe?
to say it and have people think you work for Europe.
Yes, I am on the what is the European Council?
Yeah, I work for the
EU.
UN. Yeah.
I work for the EU.
Yeah, I do not. I'm not that cool. But I work for this nonprofit called Europe.
I'm gonna post there. Just Europe.org.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we just got a new website, so that'll be even more
throw
exciting.
it in
The chat.
the chat.
Ooh.
It's really cool. We're an education workforce development type nonprofit. We have kind of our bread and butter is a program that students 18 to 24 can apply to. Typically, they have like just a high school diploma or a GED. Sometimes they've been kind of in and out of community colleges, sometimes not. And they apply to our program, and it's like 6 months. Currently, it's like 6 months of what we call learning development. They're like in the classroom learning skills related to a specific track that we have sort of specially selected the track so that they align with the sort of jobs that are in demand right now.
Genius,
so it's
actually.
Yeah, it's 6 months in the classroom, and they're learning like professional skills, you know, like how to send a professional email, what a business document looks like, all that kind of stuff. And then this internship at one of our corporate partners, and we have, I want to say like almost 300 corporate partners. About 40 of them are Fortune 100 companies, like the really big, important kind of corporate entities in the country. And our students are able to get 6-month internships and you know, with the goal that they're able to sort of be converted either in their internship placement or find an actual career at the end of the year. Our goal isn't to get these people into just jobs. We want these young adults to be in careers that they can actually like move and grow.
You don't want to see them again, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've done my job if I never see you again.
You do your job.
Yeah. And the average starting salary for our students is, I believe it's $42,000 a year, which is a really good starting salary for, you know, folks that don't have a 4-year degree but have all this training. They're able to get into these roles. So it's a really cool nonprofit, also doing really like, I think really important work in a system that needs important work. Kind of the sort of corporate and opportunity structure in America is lacking in a lot of ways, and I think it's doing really important work in getting young adults that, you know, have all this talent but don't have opportunity, just giving them, you know, the opportunity, and then they just like go off running. They're incredible.
That's so cool.
So it's a really fun nonprofit to be a part of. Like really cool to be, you know, able to like be an attorney in a setting like that. It really is an honor. And my day to day, like I do work with the students sometimes. I'm a part of one of we call them learning communities. I'm a part of one of the learning communities, so I get to interface with the students and see the program in action, which is really cool. But my day to day does not really involve that as much. I am much more on like the behind the scenes, I guess, making sure that everything's working together. So it's a lot of contract work. It's a lot of just like random questions from people like, can we do this? Is this something we should be concerned about? So it's a lot of relationship building with people so they know to come to me and to just ask me questions. And a lot of advising and counseling and like doing the legal research and then coming back. And it spans a lot of different areas of the law, which is also part of what I love about it. I'm not kind of just stuck like doing trust and estates forever, every day. I get to do a little bit of a lot of things, which I enjoy in my work. So
variety
it's a very kind of like each day is different. It's one of those.
Nice.
Oh, what's a variety in my job?
So and maybe I missed this a bit. So like you're getting kids up the corporate structure. Are there specific companies then that you're working with on that? Because I remember one thing that I kept running into and continue to run into up until, you know, doing all of my own stuff was, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have a degree. This is as high as you go. I'm sorry, you don't have a degree. This is as high as you go. And I'm like, I am literally already doing that job. So just give me that job with that pay would be really nice. And they're great. Like, this is corporate policy. It's like
come on.
Why is this policy? I literally am the guy for the job. I do the job. And so, like, there's a lot of places that I've just kind of, like, left because you run into that wall and you're like, all right, well, next. And you kind of move on from there. Like, is that something that gets weeded out at the corporate partnership level? Or is that something that gets kind of ignored because of the fact that they're working with you? Or Year Up specifically?
That's a really interesting question. And I'm glad you brought that up because that is honestly one of like the biggest issues in what we call sort of the opportunity divide. The opportunity divide, as we define it, there's probably a video on the website if people want to check it out. Definitely check it out. It probably explains it way better. But the opportunity divide essentially is, this chasm between this like workforce that's just like ready and hungry to do whatever, to learn what they need to learn, to work the jobs. There's so many young adults out there ready for that. And then on the other side is all of these jobs that are available. I mean, obviously now we're in COVID, it's like a much harder thing to say, but there's these sort of what we call kind of like mid-level careers. They're not entry level. They're not like I have a like graduate degree in something, but they need just a little bit of training, but they don't need a 4-year degree in order to do these jobs. There's actually a ton of them out there because employers have a hard time finding people. They're either overqualified or underqualified. So we call it an opportunity divide. It's just this workforce available, ready and available, just needs the sort of like
bridge
minimum, like the training they need, just the bridge to get across the opportunity divide. And one of the big issues is exactly what you talked about, Blaine, with a lot of companies, a ton of companies, I'm sure a lot of us are used to this, just automatically put that a 4-year degree is required for like almost any job.
Absolutely.
And you're like, there's no reason. Like there's so many of those jobs that don't actually need a 4-year degrry, right?
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
They need
it's like
training, like they don't need that.
Yeah. It's like, I need a degree in order to I think the most egregious one for me personally was the higher level management at Target. And I'm going to put higher level in big air quotes, like to be anything, anything over a manager of like
one of the sections of Target. Is that what you're trying to say?
I remember because they were like the section management.
Right.
And then whoever's like right above that. So like if someone's like, they're in charge of the cash registers, but then there's somebody who's in charge of like the cash registers, the front end little restaurant
like front
thing,
of house and back of house kind of thing.
And then all of the clothing had its own manager, and then everything that's on linoleum had its own manager, and then there was one manager over them. And for that level, you needed a degree. And I was like, I need a degree to be in charge of all of the clothing that comes into Target. Is that Mosimo? Yeah, sure. Get it on the shelf. Like,
need a degree for that statement.
At what point is there not just training on how to read like a P&L and how to move on from there? And find me the degree that shows you how to read a P&L. Like,
you need a business degree for that. Like, no. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, honestly.
It's ridiculous. Honestly, it's just really frustrating. And it is honestly a huge issue, a big factor in sort of all of the like disparity statistics we're seeing. Like it's a huge factor in that.
Right.
Actually, our CEO just did an interview with CNN, I think yesterday or today, and he talks about it in that. So if people want to check that out, his name is Gerald Chertavian, probably also on the website, easier to spell. But it's gonna. I mean, that is gonna take like CEOs and HR executives and people actually going through and doing the work and and reanalyzing all of these positions and be like, do we really need to say a 4-year degree on here? Because the other issue is there's so many of these companies, right, that have like software that reviews resumes. And so if they put in, we need a 4-year degree, and somebody submits a resume that's probably chocked full of relevant experience but doesn't have the degree, they're automatically going to get weeded out by these like algorithms.
Yep.
So you're losing potential talent that could actually be like really prepared for your job if you're just saying like, this is something we need. It's definitely a challenge. And so when we're working with corporate partners, I assume that that's like a part of the conversation if it happens.
You would think.
And if we get people hired when there is normally a 4-year degree, it has to come up in conversation. I would assume people would make like temporary exceptions maybe with our hope and goal that there's more of like a systemic change within them.
Yes.
A lot of the corporate partners that work with us, I mean, they don't work with us for nothing. They have to they pay to be a part of the program. Like they're invested. And so usually it's a much easier,
ask when
easier time to talk about it. You know, it may not, it's not like we're never going to say, you know, don't work with us unless you do that, because we're still a nonprofit. Like we still need these internship opportunities for our young adults. Like we still want to work with companies, even if they have those policies. But the goal is that through working with us, they'll become more aware of all these issues. And, you know, we can give them like answers and tools on how to fix it.
Right.
That's really cool.
It's like blow them out of the water with our amazing talent and be like, clearly you need to change some things, because here's all these like incredible young adults that would just be ready and waiting to work for you if you remove some of these barriers.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, because I feel like a lot of people are understanding that like college is so expensive, and it's kind of becoming like less and less of a seemingly social requirement. Like it used to be like, oh, you have to go to high school, you have to go to college, this is the destined career path. And now that's changing kind of with like advancements of the internet, and you know, everyone's just kind of building up their own businesses from the ground up. Do you think that's kind of like I don't know, the divide between like needing a degree and all this, do you think that's going to change just because of the cultural shift, and also because of what you guys are doing? Do you think it actually will happen?
Because of you.
Because of you.
You did this. Yeah.
You did it.
That's a really good question. I think there are so many more organizations out there that, whether they do exactly what we do or something different, but more kind of like hands-on focused training programs, I think are definitely cropping up in a lot of places. And that in addition to the internet and us being able to see people that are literally creating their own career without a 4-year degree, I'm sure that's all going to make a difference. There is still this understanding in a lot of places where it's like, you still need that 4-year degree. Obviously
there's like a base level of knowledge that you need in so many things. So like you must know X to ride the ride. And I feel like that's what the purpose of the degree used to be. But now with the way that a degree functions, where you have so many electives and like your major classes, and then like what you're actually learning in class day to day could be so drastically different from what you actually are performing on a day to day.
Absolutely.
That kind of, once you've made it past like the basics of that I like the tech school model, like the vocational, where it's like, hey, you want to be a programmer, here's a programming lesson. And I feel like that's where the internet is starting to take over. When a business accepts a Skillshare as a valid educational component to your history, or says, hey, here's what I made from the ground up on my own, learned how to do it all online. Those kind of things, in lieu of, you know, a 4-year degree, will be kind of that next step of like, you know, hey, you graduated high school, you knew you wanted to do this, so you focused on it, you spent money specifically on learning how to do that job specifically. Yeah, you're clearly dedicated, you're clearly putting in the thing, and it's just going to take the first, you know, companies that say, hey, this counts as experience, or this counts as the education that we're looking for, as opposed to just saying 4-year degree.
No matter what.
There are even job postings that I see when you look at them that don't even say relevant 4-year degree. It just says 4-year degree, and you're like, so
why?
I'll get a 4-year and 4-year degrees. You know,
there's definitely some really interesting articles out there about this if people have like more questions or curiosity around it. But there is a lot of this idea that like a 4-year degree and going to college is like socializing people to like be professional adults, and it's there that like in a lot of positions they're like, that's why they throw it on there, because it's like, I know kind of a minimal of what that person is going to be like if they came out of a 4-year degree, like 3-year program, versus like somebody coming from a different place. But like, that's not a reason. It's like not a legitimate enough reason to like do that at all.
Well, and especially like you were saying, like when they've got like the algorithm that is like saying, hey, this person should go or this person shouldn't go. Like that I think needs to change more than anything. And considering how much data everybody has, like Google knows how much this person knows about whatever they're studying or whatever they want to do.
You think so? You think Google knows that?
Easily.
So Google knows how much I know about Photoshop?
Yeah, they do. So? Because of every time that you want to do something on Photoshop, what do?
I Google on YouTube. Dang, that's part of Google.
You Google it. And so your entire like educational history is now a whole train of Google searches.
It doesn't mean that you effectively learned it. There's no testing.
Terrifying.
Exactly. There's no
like
there's
you,
no
maybe
testing.
You watched it and you didn't learn
but
anything.
At the same time, that's what the interview is for. That's what the relevant project is for.
So how about this? Like in interviews, you kind of have like a quiz or like a test that you go through for the job instead of just like
a hands-on test would be fantastic. Easy.
But definitely, that actually is kind of a movement that a lot of companies are going into that have those jobs that like can be tested in that way, like practical skills sort of testing. But it is starting to happen more. There's a lot of different ways that people are kind of approaching fixing this problem, and that's definitely one of them.
That's awesome.
I can't remember one of the companies that's doing it, but people are starting to do that more. It's just a lot of the sort of resume review and interviewing. It just, I mean, it takes time, it takes money.
Oh, it takes a lot of time.
So it's definitely, there's, a lot of sort of work to be done and figuring out ways to make things like that more efficient, but still more making sense.
Well, and something so small as like for when we use Indeed postings, Indeed has a driver proficiency test that we have drivers take. There are some dumb questions on it about like long haul driving that we don't do. So like, what do the different, the diamonds that have colors that tell you what's in the van? Like, what does the yellow color mean? Or what does the green color mean? It's like, it doesn't apply to the job we're hiring for. So, we kind of ignore a lot of those questions, but the proficiency of like, here's the address, what street is it on? Like that kind of stuff where it's like you're giving somebody some kind of test. So like it's
practical.
It's being baked into these application sites. And so I think as they get better at honing down of like, oh, this person got hired in, places like Indeed, they're like, oh, this person got hired onto this job and they kept it for years. Kind of what was their proficiency level? What questions did they get right and wrong? Okay, what did they do in their past? So again, it's taking all of the data that they already have on all of us and just saying, oh,
this was enough for this position.
This led to this position, so let's
Wait, you're
put
saying
a
that
proficiency
they actually do that?
test.
Do they do that already, or you want that to happen?
I mean, they kind of already do it because, like, I have an entire, like, if you've got an Indeed profile, and your history shows that you would be good for my job posting, it says suggested applicants, and I can send you a request to apply. So these sort of things exist, but moving them up the chain, I think, is kind of what the bigger need is because so many of those mid-level positions that you're talking about are usually getting hired from below or direct from college outside in an internship or something like that. So moving those into some of those online postings could be, kind of a first step, and then they figure out, oh, these people are proficient at the job for long periods of time.
Let's suggest this one.
Exactly.
I know this kind of is like some of a segue, but like I'm glad America is like moving forward and like Europe is available and like
Europe's available.
Europe. It's
a hard one. It's like an internal in-office joke concept.
Europe. But I'm glad these things are available in America. We're always like kind of checking our system and like how it's working for people. This isn't working anymore. Things are changing and we're adapting. But like, just to kind of think about Japan for half a second, like to literally be like an English teacher abroad You need to have a bachelor's degree.
You need a
Even
4-year
if you're
degree.
a native speaker of English, it's required, which is so stupid in my opinion. But it's like it's like their mindset of being like, yep, 4-year degree, no ifs, ands, or buts.
And
otherwise,
it's the
you're
same
out.
thing with a visa. Unless you're coming in on like one of those low end skills jobs, you have to come in with a 4-year degree. Period. And it's like that's just kind of the requirement to get into the country, and it in any way other than tourism.
Which is weird.
And so you have this culture where everything is about that degree.
Yeah.
And you have all of these depressed kids who end up shut in at like high school level because they like just realize that everything's like locked into that, and it sort of builds on itself there. But
I'm just kind of glad that America's, like we're growing, always. But it's like in comparison to some countries, I'm like, man,